Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Be Well, Be Keto. And today's guest is Heather Beardsley, who is a health coach and nutrition expert based in South Florida. And I apologize in advance. I hope the sound quality is okay. I had my mic plugged in backwards and I just realized it just now. Heather was able to heal her body in so many ways using the ketogenic diet. And so that has just given her a huge passion to help others do the same. So I'll let her tell her story and let's go and say hi to Heather.
Welcome to the Be Well, Be Keto podcast, where we showcase ordinary people who have achieved extraordinary results. Your host is the high-energy girl, Tracy Gluhite.
Give a woman a fish, feed her for a day. Teach a woman to fish, feed her for a lifetime. Teach a woman to fish, end world hunger. Have you ever wanted to help people improve their health journey? Have you thought about coaching people with a keto lifestyle? Would you like to become an integrative health coach? Well, the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, or IIN as we call it, is the largest nutrition school in the country. And in 2011, I graduated from their program and became a health coach. It was completely awesome. We learned over 100 different dietary theories and talk about craziness and confusion. My wish for you is that we can lock arms and create a tribe of health coaches all around the country, all around the world to spread the keto message. If this resonates with you and you would like to look into this option deeper, please go to my blog at highenergygirl.com and click on the link to the right of the homepage. Here you can grab the curriculum guide and see if it inspires you. Since I care so much about my listeners, I negotiated the very best tuition rate for you at IIN. Either you can contact them directly and give them my name, or I will introduce you to a counselor so you can decide if this is a good fit for you and your career goals. Let me know how I can support you in this coaching career opportunity. Have you joined the Facebook group yet? I have a new Facebook group called High Energy Girls, and that is pretty much where I'm hanging out these days, and I would love to have you a part of the group. So head on over to High Energy Girls on Facebook. Hey, Heather, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Hi, Tracy. How are you?
I am fantastic. I love days that I can just stay home and record and enjoy time with my friends.
Great. Yeah. Happy Friday.
Yeah, totally. Happy Friday. So Heather, tell the listeners a little bit about who you are and how you found, before you found keto.
Oh, gosh. That seems like a million years ago. I found keto sort of early fall of 2016. And prior to that, I was really struggling. I was struggling with unexplained weight gain. I was completely frustrated because all of the tricks that I used to use and be successful to lose weight were no longer working. My energy was down. I had gone into premature menopause. Oh my gosh. I had a lot of challenges that weren't debilitating, but I definitely did not feel like myself. And I knew that something was going on with me, and I just really wasn't sure what it was. So I kind of used my blogging platform that I had started in 2016 to kind of write about these challenges and sort of share what I was finding out. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did with keto when I finally found it.
And what happened next?
Well, in my research in late 2016, I came across insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome, and I didn't know what those meant, but I knew that I reflected a lot of those indicators like unexplained weight gain and fatigue and inability to lose weight and gaining weight in the midsection. And also I knew that I had, even as a kid, I had blood sugar dysfunction. Like when I went to get my wisdom teeth out, my mouth hurt so badly that I didn't eat I told my mother I was eating after the surgery, and I never ate. I gave all the food to my dog. Because of course I didn't want to put anything in my mouth. I had surgery and 4 impacted molars and all that. And because of that, like I ended up with hypoglycemia for a year. Like I would wake up in the morning and I would just pass out because I had such low blood sugar. I had to have a note in school to allow me to eat like every few hours. And of course, back then in the late 80s, I'm dating myself. I mean, I would eat terrible things because they made me feel better quickly, like peanut M&Ms and, you know, all high sugar stuff, Coke and Pepsi and all that stuff. So I knew that I had a blood sugar issue. And so that's in 2016, when I started reading about this, it's like bells started going off. So I kind of fell down a rabbit hole of research. Thank goodness there's the internet and I could teach myself because my doctors couldn't give me answers. And I found keto and it just sounded so nuts, but I just kind of kept at it. And then by the time Halloween rolled around, I said, this is it. I'm going to try keto. I'm going to try to go through Halloween without having any candy. And so I started the week before Halloween in 2016, and I didn't have a single piece of candy. And within a week, all of my sugar cravings were pretty much gone. I couldn't believe it. So I knew I was onto something. And that's how my keto journey began.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, the sugar cravings, I mean, they can be fierce.
Yeah. And I knew that I wasn't doing myself any favors. Even though I was kind of eating at the time, thankfully my eating had progressed and I was kind of eating like almost a vegan diet, very vegetarian, very vegetable heavy. But I was also using a lot of maple syrup and honey and things like that. And I didn't really realize that like a vegan or vegetarian diet for people like me who are insulin resistant can be just as carb spiking as like sugar, candy, cakes can be to other people. So when I finally bought a meter, I bought a dual glucose ketone meter because I wanted to figure out if I was doing keto the right way. I discovered that my fasting blood sugars were regularly between 135 and 145. And I was shocked.
Wow, yeah.
I was on the road to type 2 diabetes. And I couldn't believe that it hadn't been picked up before with my blood work. So it very quickly for me became less of a weight loss priority and more about arresting the development of my blood sugar dysfunction and healing myself from the inside out.
Oh, yeah, I love that. That's what I love to focus on really is on the health benefits because I think there's so many skeptics out there that think it's a fad diet. And I look at it through a longevity lens and, you know, after speaking to so many different people, realizing that this is a lifestyle that can really help us in our later years.
Absolutely. Yeah. I read in Christiane Northrup's book called The Wisdom of Menopause. She pulled out some numbers that said only 25% of the population are genetically programmed to withstand blood sugar dysfunction. In other words, to stay thin their whole life, no matter what they eat. But the rest of us, the other 75% of us, are going to start seeing, insulin resistance in midlife. And this is why so many of us gain weight. And I just looked around and I saw my struggle. I saw so many other women and men like chronically over exercising, doing chronic cardio, being frustrated with their results. And I wanted to kind of shout from the rooftops. It's not cardio. It's not it is what you're eating, but the impetus of so many of our problems is this blood sugar dysfunction, our inability to handle carbohydrates in midlife.
Yeah. And would you agree? Well, I know you do, but I think people they they don't realize the ramifications because they think they're quote unquote healthy carbs.
Yes. And to exacerbate that misconception is the problem is that, so many of us can eat carbs, still be kind of in the okay weight range. Maybe we wish we weighed a little bit less, but what we're not seeing is that just slightly chronically elevated blood sugar, which is leading to system-wide inflammation and all kinds of other issues that go undetected. And this can take place for years and years and years. And I feel like the doctors aren't really making that a priority because it leads to heart disease. Chronically elevated blood sugar is associated with other cancers and all kinds of other chronic diseases, including, of course, diabetes, type 2 diabetes. So it really is way more about the weight loss. I agree.
Yeah.
But weight loss is the biggest, I guess I'd say red flag. It's not just about the weight. There's more going on, and we have to pay attention to more than just the weight, because weight is not health.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I did see an article the other day that I need to pull out because I want to put it for the notes in my book, but it talks about how you can have an average weight person, or not, I shouldn't say average, I should say healthy weight individual and an unhealthy weight individual that both have the same exact blood work done, like the cholesterol and all that, stuff, right? The blood sugar, all that. Yet the risk for disease is so much higher in a person that is overweight.
Yes.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, because everyone's physiology is different. The way that we handle carbohydrates or have inflammation, or even our sensitivities to different foods may go unnoticed for so long. And these are things that are impacting our health and our blood markers, and it's all under the hood and it's kind of hidden.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why I was at the doctor today for my follow-up, and I hopped on Instagram and I was like, hey guys, make sure you take your labs home every single time you go to the doctor. Don't rely on your doctor to interpret your results for you. You should be tracking them yourself.
Yeah, I think there's a health tracking site. I can't remember what it's called. Have you heard of it, where you can go online and plug in all your numbers and it kind of stores everything for you?
Wow.
Gosh.
No, but I haven't. Send that to me because I'd love to check it out. I think that people need help organizing all of that information. And that's why we rely on our doctors. And not that we shouldn't, but ultimately, no one cares more about your health than you. And if you've got certain markers that don't look right, you need to be tracking them yourself, reminding your doctor where you were last year or the last time that you had blood work done, and then comparing it with this time and making sure that you're tracking it over the long term, not just the short term.
Right. Yeah, totally agree. So you started keto, and then what happened?
Well, the first, I kind of went over my blog because I kind of forgot, and I read my first updates, and it's all coming back to me now. So I had a couple of really great things happen first. In the first 3 months, I lost just 4 pounds. Now, I wasn't extremely overweight to begin with, but I probably had 15 pounds to lose. So, but I did lose 4 pounds and I lost 5 inches.
Wow.
In the first 3 weeks. Did I say 3 months? The first 3 weeks. My brain fog lifted and I immediately was able to sleep better. I wasn't feeling so hungry all the time. I was able to go longer without eating. Prior to starting keto, I was always having to bring a snack with me anytime I got in the car to go anywhere. And I just kind of stopped doing that because I wasn't hungry all the time. And then eventually after that, beyond the first 3 weeks, that rate of loss decreased, which really kind of messed with my head a little bit because I was seeing all these huge transformations on Instagram. You ever search that hashtag keto transformations, and people are losing tons and tons of weight so quickly. And I was like, wow, am I doing this wrong? And so that led to more and more research. And in the end, what I figured out was that I was really, because my blood sugars were so high, that was really the main sign that I was insulin resistant. And when you're insulin resistant, you're not going to lose weight on keto as quickly as someone who is not. So that was, again, like another reason why I had to stop focusing on the weight loss and instead look more at my fasting blood sugars every day and making sure that as long as I was making steady progress with that, that I was healing myself from the inside out, and eventually, the weight would come off.
So is there a way for a person to tell if they're insulin resistant?
Yeah, there are markers for that. It typically is like fatigue in the afternoon, weight gain in the midsection, high fasting blood sugars, like I would say anything over 100 is indicative that something's a little bit off. I can't really off the top of my head remember all of them, but those are the big ones. Oh, unexplained weight gain, and also an inability to lose weight by restricting calories. The mechanism for weight loss, if you're insulin resistant, is totally different than for someone who has healthy blood sugar function. So we just lose weight less quickly, and we have to be much more consistent, and we really have to throw out the scale. Because healing insulin resistance by eating keto takes a minimum for most of us of a year.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
And is there other things that they can do besides just going on a ketogenic diet? Are there other tips that people can incorporate?
Yes. To that, I learned a lot from Dr. Jason Fung, who works with type 2, all kinds of diabetics in his clinic in Canada. I forget exactly where he is, but he incorporates a keto diet to those patients of his who are up for it. But the main tool he uses is fasting, intermittent and long-term fasting. And he co-wrote a book with Jimmy Moore about fasting, and I read that book, and that's where I feel like I made a lot of the progress in my weight loss and lowering my blood sugar. Every time I would do a longer term fast, my numbers would increase tremendously as far as being in ketosis, and decrease as far as my blood sugar readings went.
So what's the long-term fast? Like, what does that look like for you?
Well, it started, the first one I did was just a 24-hour fast. I mean, in my life, I never thought I could do that because I was always having to eat so often. So the first time I did that, I felt like it was a miracle. And then I just kept at it. Like every 3 months or so, I would attempt a longer fast and a longer one. And my longest fast so far, I think, was like 5 days. And that's just having some bone broth and water. And I was able to take off over 9 pounds with 2 separate fasts that way. And it pretty much stuck. Most of the weight stayed off after that. So I realized, for those of us with metabolic syndrome or insulin resistance, that the longer term fasting is really a great way to take off the pounds. Even if you're doing keto supposedly the right way and the weight isn't coming off, you can practice the long-term fasting. It will really help.
Oh, okay. And when you did your long-term fast, what did you consume? Just water, or did you have something else?
Yeah, I had water, of course, tons and tons of water. In the book, there's a lot of good tips on how to fast, and I highly recommend reading that book by Jimmy Moore and Dr. Jason Fung. I think it's called Fasting Clarity, maybe. I don't remember exactly. But also, like, if you get if you're feeling a little hungry, it's great to have a little sea salt under the tongue, because during fasting and eating keto, you can, get a little bit dehydrated, and having the salt helps a lot. And it kind of turns off that little hunger pang, which really only lasts for the first 24 to 48 hours, I'd say. And then after that, you get like this huge rush of energy. And a lot of people actually need maybe only 4 or 5 hours sleep when they're doing a long-term fast, your body just like revs up, and you can feel, you can just feel your body like doing this big clean out. It's kind of amazing. I love to fast now.
Well, I've been wanting to do another one. I did a 3-day, 72-hour fast in February, and I felt super, super good. And I've been wanting to like put one on the books to do another one.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about starting this Sunday and going through Wednesday, like Sunday evening through Wednesday evening.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that sounds great. I love to do one, with the change of the seasons. It just kind of feels good to switch over into a new season.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And it's really good. Like I was told, I know I've read that part of that book. I've like gone, flipped through the pages. I have it. But I think it's good for us to do a minimum of 3 days every quarter.
Yes, I would agree with you. Mm-hmm.
My Chinese medicine doctor, though, he said, don't do it in the winter. It's not good. It's like your body gets confused because it doesn't want it wants to hold on to everything. So he said, do not eat that. Do not fast in the winter like that. I mean, intermittent fasting is one thing, or time-restricted eating, but he said don't do long-term.
Well, that makes sense to me, right? Like, because in the wintertime, the body sort of knows, like, we're in bulk up mode. It wants to know you're okay and you're not starving, right? It knows in the summertime, lots of sunlight, lots of vitamin D, like there's food around in the summertime. And so it's probably easier on the body to fast in the summertime when it knows there's plenty of sunlight around. I read that in the body, when you get up in the morning, you should let the sunlight hit your eyes. Obviously not look in the sun, but let the sunlight hit your eyes, because there's photoreceptors in the back of your eyes that when the sun hits them, starts your circadian rhythm going, and it starts the clock so that, like, whatever it is, 14 hours later, you naturally will secrete melatonin to make you naturally sleepy.
Oh, I haven't heard that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's super cool. It's just that I get up at 10 to 5, so there's no sun for quite a while after I'm, got my morning going.
Oh, you're an early bird. Yeah. Well, as soon as you see the sun, it's good to just kind of take a 2-minute break and just get the sun on your face, Oh,
I love the sun. Love the sun. So
I know so many people are afraid of it.
You know what I'd be more afraid of is sunscreen.
I agree.
All the chemicals and all that. I think that's the bigger problem. And I read a study that the people who, so people more apt to get skin cancer are the office workers that go on a week's vacation in Hawaii or whatever and get a bad sunburn versus the construction worker who's out in the sun every day.
Yeah, of course, right? Because we all know that, like, it's a natural protection to be out in the sun regularly. And then again, right, like the primal body wants to feel the sun on itself. If you never get the sun on a regular basis, how does the body know that you're thriving and outside and, like, living a vibrant life? It thinks you're hiding in a cave in the dark. Can't be good. But I mean, everything in moderation, right?
Yeah. No, I will disagree with that.
Yeah, I hope so.
Not everything in moderation. So for you listeners out there, I mean, and I know that you just said that but think about it. Would you eat bread in moderation?
Oh, no, of course not.
Yeah. Or, I mean, like, so people tell me that all the time because I'm pretty, like, I do not touch carbs. I would say 99% of the time. Okay. And, but and they like say that to me, oh, everything in moderation. But to me, there's certain things that, like, I do not want in my body, like gluten. I do not want gluten in my body. Sometimes we get tricked though, right? When you go to a restaurant.
Yep. Yeah. You should hear me. It's like, I ask 1,000 questions and if I'm not sure, I'm not going to order it.
Yeah. But I do think that they just tell you what they want to tell you just to shut you up sometimes.
Well, I can vouch for that. Having worked in the restaurant business when I was in my teens, I Remember salad bars used to be so big in the 80s? I was like the salad bar girl. And they would say, oh, you make your dressings homemade. And they just told me to say yes, even though they all came from the food service truck.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. That's very common. Mm-hmm. I mean, thankfully now I think if you go to the right restaurants where they really care about food, then, they're not going to be serving you crappy Cisco dressing. So I think it's a little easier than it was back in the 80s. When everything was awful for you.
Well, what's crazy now is that they still use canola oil and soybean oil. And I went out with my mother-in-law to her ladies club for this event, and all I ate was salad. So I thought, okay, this isn't bad. And I used like the vinaigrette, and I thought, okay, this should be fine. But that next day, my right knuckle, it got so inflamed I couldn't even turn on my car keys, like my car ignition.
Yep. Yeah. And, probably like for me anyway, I feel like the body gets used to it when you have it all the time. But when you're eating a pristine diet, like a well-formulated keto diet with lots of vegetables and whole foods, when you do reintroduce something like that into the body, I feel like the body's response is like almost multiplied, right?
Oh gosh, yeah, because now it's like, okay, you're not going to put that shit in me. Whoops, I shouldn't.
Yeah.
You're not going to put that in me again.
Right.
But it adapts to it. So like if you're eating gluten every day and you're like I used to eat bread and, all that stuff. And my body did not have any symptoms. And so accidentally, or actually I should say, in order to teach my clients about food sensitivities, I went and got a gluten test, not even expecting a positive result. And it was a stool test, and anything over 10 is considered gluten sensitive. I was 178.
What?
Yeah.
Wow. So do you think you were just minimizing the body's signals that like it didn't like the gluten when you were eating the gluten? How do you figure that?
Okay, so this is what I think. I think your body adapts to what you give it.
Yeah.
And it just gets used to it and it adapts. And then when you remove it from your body and you heal your gut, then when you bring in that foreign substance, your body goes, oh no, and it creates inflammation.
Exactly. And it's so easy to learn to live with inflammation. And I kind of remembered this when I went back and read my beginning keto blog posts. I really forgot from this point of view how hard of a time I used to have falling asleep. And now I swear, like my Fitbit says, I was awake for 30 seconds before I went into deep sleep. Like I go right to sleep, and it's really a nice benefit that I really have taken for granted. I mean, my life has completely changed since I've eaten keto. And like I said, I went to the doctor today and he looked at my lab results. He's like, all your markers are perfect. Like even some people, when they eat keto, some of their cholesterol or triglyceride markers will go up a little bit. Mine have not. My body just loves eating keto. I know for sure that it's really right for me.
Yeah. I agree with that too. My triglycerides, my HDL, LDL, that stuff is fine. I've never had a deeper test, which I wish I would have. And like I want to do like cholesterol particle size and stuff like that. Have you done those?
I have in the past, and they've always seemed to be okay, but I would like to compare it now to maybe even 10 years ago, because I think my chemistry right now is really spot on. I think I'm the healthiest I've ever been at age 48.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, it's amazing.
I mean, and people don't realize what they can do in health. They still just look at it as a weight loss thing.
I know. And that's the thing that's like such a shame, because it helps in all areas, especially, age 40 plus women, which I know that you and I both speak to. as part of our work, with the hormone balancing is huge. Food has a huge impact in your body making and balancing your hormones.
Yeah. And also it's the cholesterol. It's like so many of us, like we were demonized against cholesterol. Remember? It's like we eat egg whites instead of whole eggs and all of that. And I think that has messed up our hormones too, because we need cholesterol to produce hormones.
Exactly. Think of how many of us in our late 40s chronically avoided fat, and you need fat to create cholesterol, and all your hormones are made from cholesterol.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not only that, but we were the chronically restricting our calories, trying to diet, and when you do that, your thyroid slows down and you become hypothyroid, and then you are gaining weight, and you're like, why am I gaining weight? I'm eating like a bird, and I'm still not losing weight. Like, we've damaged our ability to make hormones, our ability to make energy from the food we eat. We have a lot of healing to do, our generation.
Yeah. I believe that too. Definitely the hormone production, or the healing of the metabolism, from the chronic restriction.
Yes, I've never eaten as much food in my life as I've eaten now. Not that I'm overeating, but it just feels so good to be able to eat a big plate of yummy keto food. Like last night I had ribs and coleslaw, and I ate till I was full. I'm not tracking. I'm not counting calories. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just going by how I feel. And my weight is as stable as it has ever been my whole life.
Oh, that's cool. So what are you eating?
What am I eating?
Uh-huh.
Like right now I have a skirt steak marinating in chimichurri sauce and a big salad for dinner.
That sounds delicious. But are you eating 2 meals a day, 3 meals a day?
Oh, I see
what are your macros? Like, how do you do all that? Or you probably don't even track anymore, right?
I really don't track my macros very much. When I was really trying to tweak everything and lose those last few pounds that I felt like I wanted to lose, I always try to keep my total carbs below 25, my total carbs. I'm sure for most people, they could lose eating more carbs, but like I said, I have, the insulin resistance. So I had to be quite strict in order to see weight loss. And then, I'm a pretty active person, and I'm pretty muscular. That's just how, I'm made. So I always felt like I needed more protein than maybe the typical woman. So I would definitely be eating, I don't know what it was, maybe 140 grams per day protein, very protein heavy. And I feel really good on that. And then, of course, the keto-friendly vegetables.
So do you eat 2 meals a day, or do you skip
two,
breakfast?
Usually 2.
Okay.
I went like almost a year and a half not eating until 2 p.m. every day. So I'd have like a late lunch, and then I'd eat dinner around 8 p.m. So I was having like a 14, 16-hour fast, intermittent fast every day. These days, I don't quite wait that long. I'm eating my first meal around 11, and it's a nice big lunch, and then I have a lighter dinner around 6 or 7.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. I like that. I really want to get back into doing OMAD, but it's like on a weightlifting day, I want to eat earlier, but on my, on my non-weightlifting days, then I feel like I can go a lot longer.
Yeah.
So, what was I going to ask you? So what is your favorite keto meal?
Ooh. I mean, if I'm being really kind of naughty about it, I'd say a ribeye.
Why is that naughty?
Well, that's a meal for an OMAD, 1 meal a day, right? A nice big ribeye steak, bone in, with a Caesar salad, with keto croutons that I get from Fox Hill Bakery. That's my idea of heaven.
Yeah, I wish I liked ribeye. I'm more of a filet girl.
Yeah, I like a bone.
Yeah, I like bones too, like in ribs, but I just don't like the fat in the steak. I know that's so weird to say, being, doing what I do, but for some
Uh-huh.
reason, I can't manage the fat in the steak.
Right.
So,
Well, that's why I like it on the grill for sure, because I feel like it kind of a lot of that fat goes away with the high heat of the grill. But I will agree with you, like a nice filet, you can really taste the steak a lot more because you don't have that fat taste competing with the taste of the steak.
yeah, it's not even the taste, it's the texture.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's kind of, anyways. Okay, so what is next for you? Oh, actually, let me wait. I'm backing up. What advice would you give to somebody listening?
Oh gosh, I would say, there's no one right way to do keto. Um, Figure out what you see for yourself in terms of vibrant health, and then reverse engineer your health journey from there. Always have that in mind, that end result, and keep working toward that. Keep that front and center, because I feel like so many of us chase the number on the scale, and then we don't even we lose the big picture of health is less about weight. It's more about all of these other things like your energy and your sleep. And, are you feeling good? Are you depressed? Are you not? Like, there's so many other markers that are more important than weight.
Yeah. I like that you said that, because there's so many, we're so complex that it can be something so far. Like I just interviewed somebody, and it was Vivica Menendez, and she was talking about how oftentimes if we have toxicity stored in our body, that can prohibit a lot of releasing and a lot of health benefits.
Yes, I did heavy metal chelation therapy. In fact, when I first went into premature menopause at age 42, my doctor had the wherewithal to do a heavy metals test on me, and I was super high in mercury and cadmium. And I feel like that removing that as much as possible from my system really helped me to start to heal. So yeah, toxins are a big, big part of it too. And often those things go a little bit ignored,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I'm really into too, is just the fasting for detoxification and for autophagy.
Yes, I like to a couple times a year, I'll buy a bottle of S-acetylglutathione, which is like a potent detoxifier for the body and like super, super potent antioxidant. The S-acetyl part of it, I believe, is a way that they figured out to make it stable in your gut so that, it would be absorbed and used by the body. And when I do that, maybe at the end of the summer when I've been having too many keto margaritas, I'll do strict keto for a week, take my S-acetylglutathione, and I feel like it's keeping me detoxified and really, really good. And maybe even pair it with afterward with a long 3-day fast or something. Yeah.
So does it taste bad?
No, it's in a capsule. So, I just take it with my supplements in the morning. Oh. But you can tell when you're using the bathroom and you're urinating, you can tell that it is detoxifying your body by the smell. It's a really good one.
Okay, that's interesting. Will you do me a favor and send me a link for that so we can put it in the show notes page?
Absolutely. Yeah, sure.
I mean, that would be really interesting and helpful because, I think that all of us need to detox. I was listening to Mark Hyman's Brain documentary series, and he was talking about the toxic world and how babies are born with 1,000 different chemicals stored. They find that in the umbilical cord blood.
Yeah, it's so scary, isn't it?
It's crazy.
Yes. Did you hear about the red tide that we were having down here in Florida?
No.
So the red tide it's an algae bloom that's toxic. And all the fish were washing up on the west coast of Florida, I think by Naples. And it's really obviously very bad for business. But more than that, obviously, something's broken in the environment there, right? It's killing the fish. It's causing algae blooms. People's eyes are burning. So I just read that they figured out that the primary culprit of the red tide was Roundup being sprayed by the municipality on all of the green areas. It's the weed killer. And it's extremely toxic. It runs off and goes into the ocean. And as soon as they outlawed the use of Roundup by the city, the red tide went away.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes, that is amazing. And you know what else? My husband's a landscape contractor, and he's doing a course on organic yard and garden health, because do you know that a person's lawn at their home is the most toxic area in their house, okay, or in their yard, or shoot, in their yard. Tracy, use your words. So, but he said, what's wrong with the water is that all of these rookies, they put all these chemicals on their lawn and then they overwater it and it all goes into the groundwater supply.
Absolutely. And we have a very high groundwater table here in Florida. That's why we don't have basements, because it would just fill with water. And so we have to be really careful down here in Florida about putting things into the ground, on the grass, spraying. I mean, think if every municipality in Florida anyway would just do away with Roundup. I mean, what I do, I just take some vinegar in a spray bottle and I spray my weeds with that. I tell my lawn guy, do not use any Roundup on my yard.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I told my husband, I said, you need to find a weed killer that doesn't create, that's not toxic, like an all natural, like a product, because he said that like he has an all natural fertilizer and an all natural pest control. Actually, it's in one. And I said, you need to find something that can help with weeds too. Because now we do weed whacking and rototilling and tractor driving.
Yes, I agree. And what does that say about society, that nobody's willing to bend over and pull a weed anymore? That we have to spray a chemical instead of just reach down and grab a weed by the root and pull it up.
Yeah, right. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's probably good for us to get out there and do that.
Yeah, move a little. That's awesome. So, Heather, how can people find you online?
Oh, I'm online, Beardsley, BeardSley.com. You could just Google Heather Beardsley. My blog for many years was known as Thrive in Midlife, and you can find me at that handle on Instagram at Thrive in Midlife. I think on Facebook I'm at Coach Heather Beardsley. I'm around. I'm not hard to find. I've been doing this since 2012, so it's a labor of love, and I love helping people find their best version of health for themselves, just like you.
Yeah, that's what more people need. So let me ask you one more question. What health benefits, like list them out, like what exactly did you experience coming from the keto diet? Oh,
okay. Better sleep.
Better sleep.
It healed my high fasting blood sugars. I feel convinced that I avoided a type 2 diabetes diagnosis. I lost weight from my midsection. I lost inches from my midsection. I became confident again that my body wasn't broken. I just needed to find the right way to eat for my body. What else? Oh, I used to have tons of brain. I would stumble over my words when I was trying to think of a word all the time, and it's like my brain started working again. It was amazing.
Like I just did. That's what I just did.
Well, listen, it's not like it doesn't happen at all, but it certainly happens less often than it used to. And I also have this sense of empowerment because Alzheimer's runs in my family. My father died of heart disease. I knew that the way I was eating was absolutely going to affect how I aged. And I don't need to live forever, but I want there to be life in all of my years. So, investing in finding the right way to eat for my body, which for me is keto, was worth every bit of struggle and adaptation. And it really didn't even take that long to make this a way of life. I can't even, you could give me the most delicious smelling piece of toast and I would not eat it. It's not good for me. I'm convinced of that. Eating keto is not hard for me at all. It's a way of life, and it's totally changed my life.
Yeah, that's good. It's not a fad diet. It is a lifelong commitment to health and aging. Yeah. Aging and health. Awesome. All right, my dear. Well, I appreciate you so much coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Tracy. It's really great to meet you. I love what you're doing with your podcast.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right, I'll see you online.
Okay. Talk to you later. Okay, bye.
Tracy.
That was such a fun conversation. I hope you were inspired and realized that it is so much more than just a weight issue and that we all lose weight at a different pace. And weight aside, we gain so many awesome health benefits by following a ketogenic lifestyle, okay? This is not a journey. This is a marathon. This is not a race. This is a marathon, and we are in it to win it for life. So please go to the show notes page to get the links for Heather. It is bewellbeketo.com. And if you can do us a favor, head on over to iTunes, leave us a rating and review so more people can find the show and be inspired to continue their keto lifestyle. Thanks for listening, and go out and make it a great day. This podcast contains the opinion and thoughts of its host and guests. It is intended to provide helpful and informative material on the subjects covered. All statements made on the podcast have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. If the listener requires professional assistance or advice, please contact your personal medical doctor. Both host and guest specifically disclaim any responsibility for any liability, loss, or risk, personal or otherwise, which is incurred as a consequence directly or indirectly of the use and application of any of the contents of these episodes. Like I said, this is my opinion and I could be wrong.